Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our webcast, A360 Collaboration for Revit. My name is Andy Deal, and I'm your host today. During the presentation will be Mr. Terry Anderek and Fred Ortiz. So Terry is our AEC and E&I account manager, and Fred is our AEC solutions engineer. Just a quick reminder before I pass over to Terry and Fred is at any time during the presentation, if you have questions, please go ahead and enter that into your Q&A panel, and we will address those questions at the Q&A portion toward the end of the webcast. Over to you, Terry and Fred.
Thanks, Andy. This is Terry Anderek, and with me here is Fred Ortiz. Today we're going to talk about what I think is the most exciting technology to come down the line since 3D modeling. In fact, it solves a basic problem that 3D modeling has had since its introduction a number of years ago. And that is, effectively, the workflow was one of transactions that were it was batch processing. That's probably the best way to express it. I do a bunch of work, I give it to someone else, they do a bunch of work, they give it back, and unfortunately in the interim, I was doing work while they were doing work. This is a way of compressing that and turning it into a more real-time type of transaction, which improves the workflow and design process considerably. So Fred's going to do the explaining and describing, and he's going to do it from his perspective, which was being on your side of the desk, actually, for 15 years. So with that said, I'm going to turn this over to my partner. Fred, you're on.
Great. Good morning, everyone. My name is Fred Ortiz, Cative Technologies AEC Solution Engineer, and I personally want to thank you all for attending our webcast this morning. Before I begin, I would like to talk to you all about my background, as Terry was saying, in the AEC and manufacturing worlds. I'm relatively new to Cative, so I don't know many of you, but I'm not new to the industry. I have, like Terry said, I have 15 years of AEC experience working for a large MEP firm in Long Beach, California, where I worked on many AutoCAD, Revit, MicroStation projects, ranging from California universities, California state and community colleges, campus-wide infrastructure improvement projects, and port and government facilities. And prior to working at this MEP firm, I worked for 6 years at a small manufacturing company in Los Angeles that specialized in manufacturing film editing equipment for the movie/film industry. At this company, I worked as a CNC machinist, a machine assembler, and a drafter. Yes, an actual drafter who worked on a drafting board, hand-drawn vellum with a pencil, and plotted out drawings with an ammonia blueprint machine. Times sure have changed, like Terry was saying. But before I age-stamp myself any further, let's talk about what we will be covering in today's webcast. In today's webcast, we will be discussing the challenges with the traditional BIM collaboration processes and the solution for these problems. I will also be talking about my real-life experience using the current methods of working on a Revit project with an emphasis on the pain points. As I go into detail of each specific pain point, I will also be sharing the solutions that A360 Collaboration for Revit presents that will eliminate these pain points. We will also be presenting the key features of A360 Collaboration with a live demonstration of the software. And after the demo, we'll go over a brief summary of the key features of A360 Collaboration for Revit. Right, the reality is, building projects are never simple. There are numerous stakeholders across multiple time zones and area codes. There are different project teams delivering on different project schedules and deadlines. There are disconnected communication practices like email and PDFs that are happening in places where designers aren't working. And multiple teams are working on multiple versions of the same model that is outdated once they have downloaded and saved on a stakeholder's local area network.
So a quick question at this point, Fred. You talk about disconnected communications. Do we mean by that communications and I'll call it conversational strings that are not connected with the design model itself, correct?
Exactly. There's
Independent.
No independent, yeah. So there's emails, PDFs. They're not actually integrated within Revit to actually communicate and connect the building.
And this addresses that.
This totally addresses that. So what is Autodesk's solution for this problem? Their solution is Autodesk A360 Collaboration for Revit, also known as C4R. I've been using Collaboration for Revit since before its initial release. When I first used the software, I knew right away that it would be a game changer in BIM collaboration. Using Collaboration for Revit, I witnessed firsthand the key benefits of the software and figured out quickly that using the software will save a firm time and money while working on a Revit project.
So in a sense, we're looking now at the Revit model building activity of all the participants.
Correct.
And we're encapsulating it with communications tools, with adjacent files, with associated files.
Correct.
And putting it all together in a way that everyone can access that at any time.
Right. A360 Collaboration for Revit gives you easy access to centralized BIM project data in the cloud. It enhances communication within Revit and on A360, and the entire team is connected and united. I will now share with you guys a real-life experience working on a Revit project using the traditional method of working on a Revit project and the challenges that I faced in the workplace at the MEP firm I worked at. Well, from my experience working in the MEP engineering world, the traditional process of working on a Revit project could be very frustrating. To download the architect's model and upload our models to the architect, we would have to use their FTP site or Dropbox. This process works, but I had to waste my valuable time signing up to use these tools and waste even more time with the scheduled uploads and downloads of these files. Sometimes, when an architect wanted me to download their model and upload our models on a weekly basis, this wasn't a fun task, especially when I had other projects to work on with strict deadlines and schedules. Another challenge I faced with this process was sometimes the BIM lead on another project was out sick or in the field one day and not able to upload their models for a submittal. Typically, I would not have access to this architect's FTP site or Dropbox since I wasn't a project member. So I would have to try to use the BIM lead's computer, which was usually password protected, which caused more problems. And when I got on his computer, I had to search through his old project emails to find the login information. Most of the time, I would end up having to create my own account to use their FTP site or Dropbox to get this accomplished. What A360 Collaboration for Revit eliminates is these procedures by storing all the BIM project data in a centralized location in the cloud. And it allows easy access to these files by all the team members. So there is no more need for scheduled uploads or downloads. All the most current Revit files are located in the cloud on A360, where teams can view, search, and socially interact on these models. Another consequence resulting from using an FTP site or Dropbox to download and upload these files for a Revit project was once I downloaded the architect's model and saved it on our network, I was essentially designing from an outdated architectural model. With multiple submittal phases, the architect's model was constantly being changed, and sometimes they didn't require us to upload our models for a couple weeks or even longer. So when it came time to upload our current models, the architect would link their most current model to use ours. Then they would use Navisworks to detect the clashes and then send us a huge item list of things to fix. This process was a never-ending collaboration headache for the architect and for my MEP project team. The time it took for us to fix these clashes truly impacted our project budget and took valuable time away from me working and designing on other projects.
So this time delay, this batch processing of updates, I do mine, it's kind of like a tailor and a seamstress.
Correct.
Customer comes in, tries on a pair of pants, they measure for alterations, send it to the seamstress.
Okay.
A week later it comes back, the customers gain 5 pounds, the pants no longer fit.
Right. That's a nice way to put it. So with the models being downloaded to your network, you're working off an outdated model, so your design's pretty much outdated. And what A360 collaboration for Revit reduces and sometimes eliminates is the clashes in multi-discipline models by allowing Revit files to be uploaded to the cloud, where the entire team is connected. With the most current Revit models stored in a centralized location, all project team members can link to each other's models and make changes accordingly in real time, reducing clashes throughout the project instead of fixing the clashes per submittal, and ultimately saving time and money for all the stakeholders.
So this doesn't only apply to multi-firm projects. This could apply to a single firm that has multiple offices.
Correct.
Or even contract workers who aren't on premise.
Exactly. It works in intra-office and out of the office with the other firm.
I could also look at this as a way to bring on contract labor from wherever they may be in the country and use them in their specialty to help my project without necessarily having to bring them in-house to do the work.
Exactly. They could get all the files off A360. Okay, the lack of communication is also an issue, especially between the project team. This is another issue with the traditional process of working on a Revit project. There were times I didn't have any type of communication with the project's architect until it was time to submit our models. So I had no idea what changes have been made to their building while I was designing my electrical work. There was a lack of communication within my office as well. Our mechanical and plumbing designers didn't always let me know about their design changes that affected my electrical design until it was time to submit our models. This non-communication created a clash detection disaster, not only for the architect to discover, but for my firm as well, because ultimately it created more work for us to fix in the back end for my MEP team.
So in a way, we can look at this as a new model, a way of doing this, such that clash detection is replaced with clash prevention.
Exactly, that's a great way to put it. So A360 C4R eliminates the inefficient methods of communication with its integrated communicator tool that allows real-time communication within Revit to prevent these clashes. Using the communicator tool, team members can view, communicate, and Revit model changes in real time. Team members can also capture these changes as an image. They can mark it up and send the file directly through the communicator tool to project members or to an individual, eliminating the use of email to communicate the changes and possibly eliminating the need to send a PDF set to the project team. Okay, so now that we've gone through the traditional approach to working on a Revit project, I will now show you the new school approach, which is A360 collaboration for Revit. Okay, right now I'm in Revit 2016, and as you notice on the Collaborate tab, we have some new features. We have the Communicator tab up here. We have Manage Models and Views for A360. Also within Revit, Collaboration for Revit, is A360 Team. A360 Team works in conjunction with Collaboration for Revit. So this is where you would have your project located on A360. So right now what you're looking at is my Cative Hub, and I have all my projects on here, but we're going to focus specifically on this one. So within this Cative Technologies A360 C4R Hub, we have multiple activity feeds and project members.
Now these project members, do they just jump on board, or do they get invited?
Good question. To be a project member, you'd have to be invited from the project moderator who created the project. And once this process takes place, an invitation email goes out to the user, and they accept the invitation, and they're allowed to join my project team. Okay, so let me show you a little bit of the features of the user interface. So right here we have our project members, an activity feed that shows all the latest activity on the project. We have a recent activity feed on the right. So if you click over here on the project team, this shows you all your project members. that are part of your project. There is also a tab over here called Data, which is all your project data where it'll be stored in the cloud. For instance, I have my Revit cloud models, which are my Revit models that were uploaded through Revit and stored here on the A360 site.
And all team members have access to this.
All team members have access, as well as you can give access to contributors as well, like a building owner or a project manager.
A non-designing participant.
Exactly. You don't have to have Revit to view the files on here. Right now I'm going to click on one of these files. It's an architectural model, and I'm going to show you the A360 viewer, which is a powerful tool within A360 collaboration for Revit. This viewer right here supports over 100 file formats, and it's a good way to display your model to project members or project contributors.
So, for instance, a landscape architect that might be doing their work in AutoCAD could show that design concept to the other participants.
Correct.
Using the viewer.
Yeah, they could publish models from Revit that will be published directly to A360 for viewing. Also within this viewer, you could comment and mark up your model. You could also share your model to project contributors such as a building owner or a project manager. And you could also download the model if need be. This is a real powerful tool with A360 because it allows you to show your work to someone who's important on the project, and they can see that actually things are getting done and it's looking how they want it to look. Okay, I'm going to move on over to Revit and show you a little bit more detail of the software. So what we're looking at right now is a Revit model that's been published to the cloud via collaboration for Revit. Once it's published to the cloud, you could actually work within Revit to create views for A360 and manage your models. But the most important key feature with this software is this communicator tab on your right. With this communicator tab, I can communicate directly with my project team members, relay changes to my model, and email them as a group. We have our projects up here, which if you're involved with multiple projects, you can have them all show up right here if you click on this. We have a contacts list. We have a record of all the chats that have taken place within your projects. And right here are all the team members that are active on my project right now.
Now, does this documentation, I'll call this ancillary documentation and content associated with the model, is that retained?
Yes, it is retained. Everything that's typed in and sent is on record right here in your communicator.
For as long as this project is up and alive in collaboration for Revit.
Exactly. So right now I have Rich Sanchez up here. I'm just going to show you an example. Let's say I wanted to capture an image of a change. I would just click this button right here, capture an image, capture it, and it pops right into my communicator tool. And I could send this off to Rich. And all these chat communications are instantaneous, so they get them right away, which promotes communication and promotes better collaboration within your project.
So it truly is a transaction-based rather than a batch-based workflow.
Exactly. It's transaction-based, which means you could make changes constantly throughout your workday without having to make your changes all at the end when the submittal happens.
So we're saying the MEP engineer can speak with we should put it a different way, plumbing can speak with HVAC in real time and avoid clashes that would come otherwise later in the project or worse at construction.
Exactly. So this will help eliminate clashes during the design process. Also up here on the top we have our Manage A360 models. This is where all your projects will be stored in the cloud and allows you to browse through different projects that you are part of. So I'm going to click on this Cative Technologies A360 CR4 project and show you the active files I have in this project. We have our architectural, furniture, MEP systems, and structural model. which can be published directly through to A360 using this publish tool right here. Once you publish it, it sends it up to the cloud for viewing on the A360 team project site that I showed you before. You can also select specific views using your views for A360 that you want to present to a building owner or a project manager. So what you would do is go through this list of Revit items and select your view, maybe a 3D view. You could even select sheets if you want to send sheets to somebody. So once you select the views you want to send out and make viewable in A360, you would just save and close, manage your A360 models, browse to your project, and publish them. Simple as that.
So if I'm a non-designing or engineering participant, such as a building owner, or someone who would be in construction management for the project,
Right.
I can be an informed observer in real time as this goes forward.
Exactly. Even if you're not part of the Revit process, you can stay informed through the A360 site. Through A360, you have the activity feed and communications from all team members.
We have several, by the way, we have several development firms that are using this technology to do just that. They want to see the project as it unfolds, and this is a great way for them to be informed without having to call a meeting and everyone sit in a big room once a month or once every 2 weeks.
And to get your models up to the cloud, it's simple. Once you have your model located on your C drive, you would click the Collaborate tab and collaborate on A360.
Now, once I've uploaded my model, that's the end of the heavy lifting.
Correct.
Then it's, I'll call it delta up and delta down, where I'm transmitting only those changes I've made to my model and receiving back those made to others.
Correct. So what you see right here is when I click this Collaborate on A360, it brings up this dialog box. This dialog box allows you to select projects that you are a part of and initiate collaboration to the cloud. Once that happens, this file is saved on A360 for viewing purposes.
This is a big departure from what we think of as FTP transactions, which is everything up and everything down every time.
Right. This software only sends up and down only the changes that are being made in the Revit model, not the whole model itself. So,
and is it erasing? Should I be worried about losing my what I did last month?
no, you shouldn't be worried about that. And if that does happen, you could actually go back to your Manage A360 models, select your project, select your file, and you can actually restore previous versions of that model.
So it tracks everything.
It tracks everything.
So it's got that fail-safe that, I'll call it, if someone's hit by the proverbial bus,
Right.
the work that's been done or should be undone can.
Yeah, it can be done, and it also lets you know who deleted the file, so you know who's responsible for that.
So Fred, if I may at this point, can I summarize what I heard in your conversation?
Please do, Terry.
So this will work for both multi-firm and intra-firm collaboration.
Correct.
And in an intra-firm, that can be, I'll call it, working employees off-site as well as contracted employees off-site.
Correct.
Also, it provides a centralized access to the BIM data in the cloud.
Correct.
So that would mean that just about any mobility tool would give you an opportunity to view progress, at least through the viewer, correct?
Exactly. And there's no more need for the scheduled model uploads and downloads using an FTP site or Dropbox.
So if I have a laptop or a pad and I'm on site and I have Wi-Fi access?
Correct. You could view it on your iPad from anywhere, on the site, anywhere.
Updates and collaboration are done in real time.
Correct.
That's a big break from the past. Communications tools, and importantly, the documents, the record of that communication is kept with the documents, with the files, for the life of the project.
Correct. That's a big benefit.
And finally, this viewer makes it possible to see just about any kind of file in about any kind of device, whether stationary or mobile.
Right. So within Revit, you could specify the views you want to show, publish it to A360, and it could be viewed by a building owner, like I said, or a project manager.
Great. So let's talk about system requirements, Fred, because everyone always wants to know that.
Right. So with system requirements for A360 collaboration for Revit, you would have to have Revit 2015 or Revit 2016. With 2015, you would have to have release R1 or R2 with an update 8 and A360 collaboration for Revit update 5. For 2016, there is a service pack for Revit 2016 which will need to be installed before you can run A360 collaboration for Revit 2016. And the preferred internet browser would be Google Chrome or Firefox browser. Internet Explorer is not recommended. To run a project on A360 C4R, you're going to need a minimum of 50 gigabytes of free hard drive space and a minimum 10 megabyte seconds internet speed to run the software correctly.
So you use that term C4R, which means collaboration for Revit. It's a lot easier to spell than the longer one.
Yeah, my tongue's hurting from saying collaboration for Revit so many times, so I'm going to say C4R from here on out.
Let me talk about pricing for a second. That's a salesy thing that everyone wants to know. This product, Collaboration for Revit, is a what's called a desktop subscription product, meaning it's a rental. And it can be done on a monthly, quarterly, or annual basis. The best cost per month rate is on the annual. An annual subscription is $800 per year or $67 a month, whereas if you'd done it on a quarterly or a monthly basis and kept it for a year, you'd have paid $100 a month. And discount promotions are available on this. If you need any more information, feel free to call me at the main number, and I'll be happy to answer your questions.
There are a few next steps for your viewers to take part of. If you haven't already, please read my latest blog post, which is A360 C4R, Get Your Head in the Cloud, and that's on blog.kativ.com. And that blog mainly talks about my experience in the industry and how A360 C4R has helped our customers so far at Kativ. You could also join my Kativ A360 C4R Hub, which I presented to you in my demonstration. And to do that, I have all your emails, so after the demonstration, I'll go back and send you an invite with your email.
Of course, you can always contact me. This is terry.anderek@kativ.com, and then, of course, our main number there. Let's open this up for Q&A. How does that sound?
Sounds great.
All right, thank you, Terry, and thank you, Fred. Very good presentation. I know we're running toward the bottom of the hour now and past, so I'll just cut this Q&A a little bit short. But we do have a question or two that came in. Obviously, when we talk about the cloud, people are always concerned about security and sharing. Can you guys talk a little bit about that part of it?
Sure. That's a common question I've been getting with A360 C4R, and there's no need to worry about that. The security of the software and working in that environment, we call it a high-trust environment. So everybody who's part of the project team can make changes to the models at any given time. But like I said before, if somebody deletes a file by accident, or if a change is not as incorrectly made, you could actually revert your version and bring it back. And also for security purposes, as far as the cloud, Autodesk saves this cloud storage is in Amazon's network, which is located in Virginia, and it's very close to a building that's kind of shaped like a pentagon. So I'm pretty sure it's pretty sure it's safe.
All right, and then the other question that came up was, you know, obviously the collaboration is fantastic when you can do real-time communication and you know, sharing your models and all that. Is there an option to work offline and then reconnect for later on, just in case you're not don't have access to Wi-Fi or the internet where you were working at that moment?
That's a great question, and that's come across a few times with our customers. So if you do lose an internet connection, you are able to work offline, and there are a few steps to accomplishing this. One of the steps is downloading or saving as your model locally and working back in the traditional Revit project method on your network, and wait for your internet connection to come back up, and then you can reinitiate your model back to the cloud when your internet's back up. So there are workarounds.
Great. So at this time, I think that's all the questions that we have time to cover today. Obviously, if you have additional questions, I highly recommend that you reach out to Fred and Terry, and they are experts about this product, and they can answer any question that you have that were not addressed today. And also, I do highly recommend you reach out to Fred to get invited or to his C4R hub and try it out. Check it out. If you haven't used it before, you haven't seen it before, play around with it. Fred can help you with that. Any last comments, Fred and Terry, before we log off here?
Well, you made a good point about the hub. So please, if you want me to send you an invite, I will. And once you get on the hub, there are some steps and some introductions and some videos about the software you can view and kind of get a better feel for A360 collaboration for Revit.
I think that's all from here, Andy. We thank everyone for their time and look forward to working with you. Take care. Have a great day.
Thanks for joining. Have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.